Suffice to say, the end of May does not mean the end of Miku-related activities on my channel. So if you're a fan who just joined for this kind of content, don't worry. I have more coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned. Well, I do love giving away a future video at the end of a current video, don't I? So this video will be kind of like a unique hybrid, which I hope helps flow-wise. I'll be splitting my Anime NYC recap into 2 sections, building up to the convention and how the convention went. I think this will offer up a great way to bridge the 3D printing and DIY portions with the convention itself. Speaking of which, let's discuss mine and Gigi's cosplay. For Anime NYC, I cosplayed Hatsune Miku. Like previously referenced, I had plans for this as early as March of this year, with full work starting around May. The biggest part of printing for me was the headphones. If you remember, there were 2 specific areas I aimed to improve on, the headband and the texture of the print. If I ever revisit this project, I would like to make the batteries less obvious, headband 3D printed, and surface finishes different and more contrasting. For the texture, I have since kitted both my K1 and A1 with engineered cold plates, which give a much smoother surface. My SV08 still has a traditional textured PEI sheet, so I printed the inserts on the SV08 and the body pieces on my K1 and A1 respectively. This makes the insert pieces look like they are made of a different material, which I feel makes the whole headset look more premium. Now for the biggest improvement, the headband. Okay, so to briefly discuss how I got the headband to work for the Miku and Teto headphones, I want to go through the process for selecting what size to use. So this is a headband not designed by me, it's designed by this user on Thangs. Here are the 2 sizes that the designer offers. You can see this is the smaller version, and then this is the standard size. So the standard, or the small size, definitely wasn't going to fit anybody. It was just too small, especially with the headphones on the side. It just cannot bend far enough for it to even come close to fitting on any of our heads, so we were not able to use this one. The standard size was okay, but you can see when it bends to be around the size of your head, these parts right here start to bend inwards, which means that the headphone here will actually bend towards you when you actually wear it. And so what I really need to do was kind of like almost expand it in the X direction, which is what I ended up doing with the final size. You can very clearly see that expansion. And this worked amazingly. And you can kind of see that the holes are a bit stretched out, but surprisingly, they work phenomenally well, and I didn't even really have to adjust or like drill out the holes or anything like that. The screws just went right in. So these worked amazingly well for the headphones. And here is the pink and black comparison so that you can see the size again. Huge shout out to the original creator. I plan to use this headband design for a lot more cosplays in the future, as it's simply the best 3D printed headband I've ever seen. The previously implemented heatset inserts dovetailed perfectly into the implementation of the adjustable headband, as now the entire headphone can be disassembled and reassembled at whim. This made it much easier to transport and even attach extra features onto, like the hair boxes I had previously designed. In terms of these hair boxes, I just attached them with cable ties, but they could just as easily be screwed in with M3 bolts. I didn't do that on this project for a simple yet kinda silly reason. I ran out of shorter M3 bolts. Sorry. Speaking of areas for future improvement, the one aspect of this design that I did not work on was lights. Since we were walking around the convention, it would have been tough to see the LEDs, and it added a lot of extra strain to my con crunch, so I ended up dropping this aspect completely, and both headsets went unlit. In a future build, what I would like to do is make my own circuit with LEDs for the headphones and integrate these filament LEDs for the hair boxes so the entire unit glows. I've been working on various methods to utilize rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, both for a sleeker look but also for better sustainability. The best part of cosplay and engineering is the future ability to improve. For the Miku headphone colors, I used Inland Black PLA Plus for the body and the headband, Inland Pink PLA Plus, and Inland Yellow PLA Plus for the inserts. For the Teto headphone colors, I used Inland Pink PLA Plus for the body and headphones, and inland purple PLA Plus for the inserts. This is a very small aspect of my cosplay, but 3D printed nonetheless. The tie bars I used in my cosplay were actually 3D printed. I wanted a solid black tie bar and felt it was too small of a detail to go out and buy. Since my cosplay was all handmade, I needed something. I found the file for these on MakerWorld by this user. They worked very well, but did bend over time. I think a more flexible material like PTG would work better long term, but for this cosplay they worked perfectly in inland black PLA+. Moving away from 3D printed pieces for a second, let's talk about the cosplay itself. All of the pieces were handmade in various ways, designed by my sister and sewn by my mom. My shirt was an old button-up with the sleeves cut off. To cover up the seams, my mom sewed a teal trim onto them. This teal trim was also added to the bottom of my shorts and the ends of my sleeves. For the sleeves, my sister designed a patch that was later ironed on. My sister's Teto cosplay was made in the exact same way as mine. She even used one of my old shirts. The big notable difference between the two being the sleeves, which used a strap with a red button instead of the iron-on print. Special shout out to my mom and my sister for helping. My cosplay wouldn't have been the same without you. Moving back into 3D printing, I made these super cute Miku and Teto keychains and gave them out while at the convention. These were not designed by me, but I did do some significant revisions to the original files to get them working better as keychains. Let's start with the Miku ones. These were based on Miku clickers designed by this user on MakerWorld. To make them keychains instead of clickers, I added a modifier on the top to remove several layers. I also made a simple keychain connector for the top in Tinkercad and added it as an additional part. Along with this, I manually painted the colors so that they only appear on one side of the keychain. I feel a one-sided keychain looks a little bit more premium, but also it wastes less material. This, in combination with my calibration from a previous video, means that I was able to get the waste down to per bed of keychains. This means that for each keychain only was wasted per Miku. Moving on to the Teto drills, they were made by this user on MakerWorld. Since these were already keychains, they required much less modification on my end. I took a bit off the back and split the model up. The split allowed me to make the coloring only on a few layers to save on the amount of purge, while also repositioning the keychain attachment to account for the new size. When split, I also trimmed some of the extraneous color sections to help the model print even better. Both of these keychain models printed amazingly, and serious hats off to both creators. Please give them your support. To make the Mikus, I used Inland Black PLA+, Inland Pink PLA+, Inland Sand PLA, and Jamji HE Green PLA. For the Teto drills, I used Polymaker Special Co-PE in black, wine red, and white. This was a special experiment for me to use a different type of material in multicolor. Speaking of special materials, there is a big part of my and my sister's cosplay that I have yet to mention, but since I wanted to talk about it in such detail, I felt it was better suited for its own video. To learn more about how I made my custom Hatsune Miku Crocs and my sister's Teto Crocs, tune in next week. Wrapping up the pre-convention talks, how was the actual event? Well, let's discuss. Overall, I think Anime NYC was one of, if not the best conventions Gigi and I have ever attended. The people there were so nice and loved our cosplays. We got so many wonderful compliments. There was a lot to do and see when we left. We actually wished we had more time, which is not something that we often say. Normally, we're very exhausted after a convention. We've never participated in a cosplay meetup, but one of the other Mikus that we met while we were walking around the convention invited us to attend the Vocaloid cosplay meetup, which was just a blast. My sister enjoyed seeing so many Vocaloid fans and gushing about her hobby. I got to yap about my hobbies too, as a lot of other people were interested in how I made my cosplay. We got to give out a bunch of our Miku and Teto keychains, and everyone loved them. I even got to meet Migusaki, and we even had matching Crocs. Look at it. On the screen are the socials for each cosplayer I could find after the show. If you're watching this and I missed you, please leave a comment. Oh, and aside from Vocaloid, I did meet up with some VTuber fans. You know, being a VTuber and everything, I had the opportunity to meet the Saba Samako. Well, just kidding. But seriously, this creator's cosplay was amazing and blew me away. I met up with the Hololive Bros at the HoloLive booth. Shout out to Zerp and Flamium. Zerp is the reason I made it to Anime NYC, so I couldn't have done it without you, buddy. Thank you so much. Speaking of Zerp, stay tuned for a future video where I discuss how I made his Paparisa horns. Okay, now we gotta discuss the merch haul. Firstly, Gigi and I stopped by the Omocat booth, and I got this Saba bucket hat. I've had my eye on her merch for a while and was so lucky that they still had it in stock when we got there. I think it's a perfect, subtle VTuber item, and I actually have started wearing it with my usual outfits. Even people who have no clue what a VTuber is have said it looks great. In addition, my sister got this mini Mokoko pixel keychain. From Flamium, I got these HoloLive themed protein bars from Japan. In true anime fashion, they were gacha pull for special cards. I unboxed them on stream and got these two. Speaking of HoloLive merch, I also got these trading cards from the HoloLive booth. From the Good Smile booth, Gigi got the 100th Miku Nendoroid, as well as Sakura and Snow Miku Hello figures. I got this Racing Miku sticker and special Holo, Rare, Shining Hello Miku. Since we got so much Miku merch, we also got these adorable Hello Miku mini keychains. Now I just need a way to display all my new figures. Hey. New 3D print idea? Next to the Good Smile booth was a store specializing in imported media. They had a few Miku CDs from Japan, but none that my sister was really looking for. What we did find there was a Japanese copy of Ace Attorney 1 and Ace Attorney 4. Longtime viewers will know that I like to expand my collection of imported games, and Ace Attorney has long since been a favorite series of games for me and my sister. These were super cool finds, and now I'll be on the lookout for the rest of them, as well as possibly GBA copies. While stopping at the Pliffin Buddies stand for a picture, we got these super cute Pero balloons. Also, Gigi found her twin? What would a convention be without art? There was a really good selection of art from various artists. Normally, I am a sucker for stickers, but this time I was a little bit more deliberate with my art haul, as I have a specific vision in mind for what I bought. I couldn't not get some of Pib's new indie VTuber arts. I picked up this Saba print, this Doobie print, and I splurged on the foil version of this Nimi print. In addition to Pib's work, I also grabbed this foil Saba art from Robot Cat. All these prints are 11 by 17s, so I have a very specific plan to update my old 3D printed frames video with some of the new modeling techniques that I've picked up recently. So stay tuned for that. That being said, I didn't not get some stickers. This artist had this adorable Saba fishbowl sticker, which was just too unique to pass up on. Well, that about wraps up highlights from Anime NYC 2025. I had a blast. Thank you to everyone who made this experience so wonderful. Thank you to my family for helping me finish my cosplay. Thank you to the Holo homies, Zerp especially. And thank you to all the Vocaloid fans for being so welcoming to my sister and I. As previously mentioned in this video, next week I will be showing off my custom 3D printed Crocs and how you can make your own just like I did, so stay tuned for that. As for today, this is where I end. Thank you very much for watching, and bye-bye!